As I stood on the rim of the Grand Canyon, the first thing that hit me wasn't just the view, though it was nothing short of spectacular. It was this overwhelming feeling of smallness. It's like the world stretches out forever here. I could feel the wind brushing against my skin, cool and crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and pine. There's something sacred about this place. It's quiet, yet it speaks volumes. Looking down, the Colorado River twists and turns like a delicate thread, but knowing that this tiny ribbon of water is responsible for carving out this colossal wonder over millions of years, it gave me chills. The layers of rock, each with a story older than humanity itself, rise and fall in every direction like nature's own cathedral. The sun had just begun to rise, casting an ethereal golden light across the canyon. It's hard to explain, but watching the colors change, first soft pinks, then fiery oranges, and finally deep purples, it felt like the earth was waking up with me. Time slows here. Every second feels stretched out, like the universe is inviting you to pause, to breathe, and to just in this moment. I remember sitting down on a rock, legs dangling over the edge, my heart racing slightly from the height, but also from the sheer magnificence of what I was witnessing. It's funny, we spend so much time in cities surrounded by noise, and yet here, where everything is quiet except for the whisper of the wind and the distant rush of water, I felt more alive than I ever had. The Grand Canyon is not just a place. It's a reminder of how ancient, how powerful, and how breathtaking the earth truly is. I left with a feeling that I'd been let in on a secret, something timeless and beyond words. Imagine waking up to the sight of Mount Everest towering above you. There's a sense of awe that settles into your bones as you stand here, gazing at the tallest mountain on Earth. The air is cold, biting at your skin, and each breath feels heavier, reminding you just how high you are. But none of that matters. In that moment, you're completely in awe. Reaching base camp wasn't easy, but every step along the rugged trail brought a new kind of beauty. The Himalayas are like something out of a dream, their snow-capped peaks so white they almost glow against the deep blue sky. As you trek through, you're surrounded by prayer flags fluttering in the wind, each one carrying the hopes and blessings of those who've walked this path before. It's a humbling experience, knowing that you're standing where so many adventurers and climbers have stood, with the same mountain calling to them. I remember the sound of my footsteps crunching on the snow, the rhythmic pulse of my heartbeat in my ears as I adjusted to the thin air. There's a certain quietness here, not just the absence of noise, but a spiritual quietness. It's as if the mountains themselves are watching, ancient and wise, knowing more about life and time than we ever could. Standing at the base, looking up at Everest, it doesn't feel real. It's so massive, so imposing that your brain almost can't process it. I found myself staring at the summit, wondering how anyone could ever reach it. And yet knowing that people do, that determination, that desire to conquer this giant is inspiring. But for me, just being here, feeling the cold wind on my face and seeing the world's tallest peak with my own eyes was enough. It's a humbling experience, one that makes you reflect on your own journey, both in life and in the mountains. You leave Everest not with the memory of a mountain, but with the reminder that some things are bigger than us, and that's okay. There's nothing quite like the moment you first lay eyes on Victoria Falls. You hear it before you see it, a deep, constant roar that builds with every step closer. The locals call it Mosi Watunya, which means the smoke that thunders, and it doesn't take long to see why. As I approached the edge, I was met with a wall of mist rising high into the air, as if the waterfall itself was breathing. The ground beneath my feet was vibrating, and the air felt alive with energy. It's hard to describe just how powerful Victoria Falls feels when you're standing right there. The water crashes down with such force, it's almost intimidating. You can feel the spray on your skin, cool and refreshing, and within minutes you're soaked through, but it doesn't matter. I stood there, eyes wide, taking it all in. The rainbows that danced in the mist, the thunderous sound that seemed to echo through the earth, and the never-ending cascade of water that stretched across the horizon. There's a path that runs alongside the falls, and as you walk you get different views, each one more stunning than the last. The closer you get, the more the world around you disappears. It's just you and the falls. There's something primal about it, something that speaks to the deepest part of us as humans, the raw, untamed force of nature at its most majestic. I remember leaning on the railing, staring into the abyss, watching as the water plunged into the depths below. It was hypnotic. The falls seemed to go on forever, an endless curtain of water, and you feel like you could stand there for hours and still not grasp the full scale of it. It's overwhelming in the best possible way, a reminder that no matter how advanced we get as a species, nature will always have the upper hand. Victoria Falls leaves you in awe, drenched and deeply moved. As soon as I dipped beneath the surface of the Great Barrier Reef, it felt like I had entered another world, one that was teeming with life and color, more vibrant than I had ever imagined. The water was warm, almost like a gentle embrace, and the visibility was crystal clear. It was as if I was floating above an underwater city, alive with creatures going about their daily lives. The coral formations were breathtaking, some shaped like delicate fans, others like massive, intricate labyrinths stretching out in every direction. They were painted in hues of pink, purple, green, and orange, almost too bright to be real. Fish of every color and size darted in and out of the coral, moving in synchrony like some kind of dance. It was mesmerizing. I remember swimming alongside a sea turtle for a few moments, watching as it glided effortlessly through the water, its movements slow and graceful. There was something calming about being in their world, where everything felt in harmony, unhurried. I felt like an intruder, but also like I had been given a rare, precious invitation to see life from their perspective. Every now and then I would pause and simply hover in place, taking in the beauty around me. It was so peaceful down there, just the sound of my breath through the snorkel and the occasional distant chatter of marine life. There was something almost spiritual about it, the way the reef seemed alive with energy, with color, with purpose. As I surfaced, the sun was starting to dip low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the ocean. I remember feeling a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the beauty I had witnessed, but for the fragility of it. The Great Barrier Reef is a reminder that some of Earth's greatest treasures are also the most vulnerable. And being there made me realize how important it is to protect these natural wonders for future generations. I left with my heart full and my spirit at peace, knowing that I had just experienced one of the most magical places on Earth. There's something almost otherworldly about witnessing the Aurora Borealis, like you've been transported to another dimension where the sky itself is alive and dancing. I remember standing there in the freezing cold of a winter night, wrapped in layers of clothes, but the cold didn't matter. My breath hung in the air like mist, and my eyes were glued to the sky above. It started slowly, just a faint green glow at first, but within minutes it blossomed into the most spectacular show I'd ever seen. The colors shifted and swirled, greens, pinks, purples, all moving in waves like some cosmic ballet playing out across the heavens. It's hard to describe what it feels like to watch something so grand and yet so delicate. There's this quiet stillness all around, but the sky is alive with motion. It feels magical, like the universe itself is performing just for you. I remember feeling this sense of awe, like I was witnessing a secret that few people ever get to see. The stars twinkled in the background, but all eyes were on the lights as they danced and flickered, as if nature had decided to put on a light show just for those brave enough to venture into the cold. I didn't want to blink. I was afraid I might miss something, a shift in the color, a change in the pattern. It's the kind of experience that makes you feel connected to the universe, like you're a part of something much bigger than yourself. There was a moment when I just stood there, frozen in place, tears welling up in my eyes, not from the cold, but from the overwhelming beauty of it all. It's not just a sight, it's an experience that touches you deeply, reminding you of the wonder of the world we live in. As the lights slowly faded, disappearing into the night, I felt like I had been let in on a secret that only the northern lights can share. It's the kind of moment that stays with you, long after the lights have dimmed. Paricutin is unlike any other volcano in the world, not just because of its unique history, but because it feels so raw, so primal. It's as if the Earth itself decided to remind us of its power. The story of Paricutin is fascinating. It's one of the few volcanoes whose birth was witnessed by humans. Imagine waking up one day, and out of nowhere, the ground starts to split open, and within hours, a volcano begins to rise. That's exactly what happened here in 1943, and being in the presence of something so young, geologically speaking, is humbling. When I reached the top of the crater, the first thing that struck me was the smell. Sulfur mixed with the earthy scent of the lava rock. The ground was warm under my feet, a reminder that this volcano, though dormant now, was once a force of fire and destruction. The view from the summit was incredible, the surrounding forests, the blackened lava fields, and in the distance the remnants of the villages that were buried when the volcano erupted. It's hard to stand on the edge of something so powerful and not feel a sense of awe. I remember looking down into the crater, imagining the molten lava that once flowed freely here, and feeling a strange mixture of fear and fascination. There's a silence up here, broken only by the sound of the wind as it whistles through the rocks. It feels like a place where time has stood still, where the earth is still holding its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. As I made my way back down the volcano, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just witnessed something ancient, something that connects us to the core of the planet. Paricutin is a reminder that the earth is alive, constantly shifting and changing, and that we are just small witnesses to its immense power. It's a humbling experience, one that stays with you long after you've left the volcano behind. Stepping into the Amazon rainforest is like stepping into the lungs of the planet. It's alive in a way that's hard to describe. Everywhere you look, there's movement, sound, life. The air is thick with humidity, and the smell of wet earth and vegetation fills your senses. It's a place that feels both wild and ancient, like it's been here long before us and will be here long after we're gone. As I walked through the dense jungle, the canopy above me blocked out most of the sun, but every now and then beams of light would break through, illuminating patches of the forest floor in a golden glow. The sounds were constant, a symphony of birds, insects, and animals all going about their daily lives. It's almost overwhelming, the sheer variety of life that exists here. In just a few steps, I saw brightly colored birds darting through the trees, heard the distant calls of howler monkeys, and even caught a glimpse of a sloth lazily hanging from a branch high above. The Amazon feels alive in a way that's hard to explain. It breathes, it moves, and you can feel the pulse of life all around you. The trees are massive, their roots twisting and turning through the soil like the veins of the earth itself. Every plant, every animal, every insect is part of this intricate web of life, and being here in the heart of it all made me realize just how interconnected everything is. I remember standing still for a moment, just listening, feeling the rainforest around me. The air was thick, the heat almost oppressive, but it didn't matter. I was in the presence of one of the most vital ecosystems on the planet, a place that is both beautiful and fragile. It's easy to forget in our concrete jungles just how much we depend on places like the Amazon, and being there made me feel a deep sense of responsibility to protect, to preserve, to care for the natural world that sustains us all. Standing in the shadow of the Himalayas is like standing at the edge of the world. There's something otherworldly about these mountains, the way they tower above you, reaching for the sky as if they're trying to touch the heavens. The air is thin and crisp, and with each breath you feel like you're inhaling pure life. It's impossible not to feel small here, humbled by the sheer scale of it all. And yet at the same time, it's the kind of place that makes you feel more alive than ever. As I trekked through the rugged terrain, each step brought me closer to the peaks that had loomed in the distance for days. The landscape is a beautiful contradiction, harsh and unforgiving, yet serene and peaceful. The snow glistens in the sunlight, creating a stark contrast against the deep blue sky, while the valleys below are rich with forests and rivers, as if the mountains are cradling life in their arms. There were moments on the trek where the silence was so profound it was almost overwhelming. Just the sound of my footsteps crunching in the snow, the occasional flap of prayer flags in the wind, and the distant murmur of streams winding their way down the mountainside. It's in that silence that you realize the Himalayas aren't just a place, they're a state of mind. They challenge you, physically and mentally, but they also offer something in return: peace, clarity, and a connection to something greater than yourself. One of the most magical moments was watching the sunrise over the peaks. The first rays of sunlight touched the snow-capped summits, turning them a brilliant shade of gold. The entire landscape seemed to come alive, bathed in this ethereal light, and I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude to be witnessing such raw, untouched beauty. It's the kind of place that changes you, that stays with you long after you've left. The Himalayas are not just mountains. They're a reminder of the incredible power and beauty of our planet. Jeju Island is a place that feels like it was plucked from a dream, a paradise of natural wonders where the land meets the sea in the most dramatic of ways. The island is a tapestry of volcanic rock, lush greenery, and crystal clear waters, all woven together in a way that makes it feel both wild and inviting at the same time. From the moment I set foot on Jeju, I knew I was somewhere special, somewhere where nature has been allowed to thrive. One of the first places I visited was Harlong, the dormant volcano that dominates the island. The hike to the summit was challenging, but the views made every step worth it. As I ascended, the landscape shifted from dense forests to rocky, almost alien-like terrain. The higher I climbed, the more expansive the views became, until finally I was standing at the top, looking down into the crater. It was like staring into the heart of the island itself, a reminder of the powerful forces that shaped this place. But Jeju is not just about volcanoes. It's about the way nature has woven itself into every corner of the island. I visited Seongsanil-chulbong, or Sunrise Peak, a volcanic tuff cone that rises out of the sea like a crown. Watching the sunrise from here was one of the most magical experiences of my life. The sky turned shades of pink, orange, and gold, and as the first rays of light touched the ocean, it felt like the entire world was waking up with me. Then there are the waterfalls, like Yongbang Waterfall, which cascades directly into the ocean. Standing there with the spray of the waterfall on my face and the sound of the water crashing against the rocks, I felt completely immersed in the power of nature. It's a place where land and sea collide in the most beautiful of ways, where you can feel the energy of the earth in every crashing wave, every gust of wind. Jeju Island is a reminder that nature is both gentle and wild, calm and untamed. It's a place where you can lose yourself in the beauty of the landscape, where the worries of the world melt away and all that's left is a deep connection to the earth. I left Jeju with my heart full, knowing that I had experienced a piece of paradise. Harlong Bay feels like something out of a fairy tale, an otherworldly landscape where towering limestone pillars rise from the sea like ancient sentinels, guarding a place lost in time. The first time I saw it, I was speechless. The bay stretches out in every direction, a labyrinth of emerald waters and mist-shrouded islands, each one more mystical than the last. It's the kind of place that feels too beautiful to be real, like it belongs in a dream rather than the real world. I remember boarding one of the traditional wooden boats known as junks and setting out into the bay. The air was warm, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves of the trees that clung to the limestone cliffs. The boat glided through the water silently, as if the bay itself was reluctant to disturb the peace. Everywhere I looked, there were these towering rock formations, their jagged peaks softened by the lush greenery that clung to their sides. As the boat weaved through the islands, the beauty of Harlong Bay revealed itself slowly, like a secret being whispered in your ear. There were caves to explore, hidden lagoons accessible only at low tide, and small fishing villages where life has remained unchanged for generations. I felt like I had stepped back in time, to a place where nature still reigns supreme. One of the most magical moments came at sunset. The mist that had hung in the air all day began to lift, and the sky turned shades of pink, orange, and purple. The limestone pillars were silhouetted against the sky, their reflections shimmering in the calm waters of the bay. It was a scene so beautiful, so peaceful that it felt like time had stopped. I sat there in silence, taking it all in, feeling like I had been let in on one of the world's best-kept secrets. Harlong Bay is not just a place, it's an experience, one that touches you deeply and leaves you with a sense of wonder. It's a reminder that there are still places in this world where beauty reigns, untouched by the passage of time, where nature is the true artist. It's the kind of place that stays with you long after you've left its shores, a dream that you carry with you always. As my journey across the world's most awe-inspiring natural wonders comes to an end, I can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the beauty I've seen, for the moments of wonder that took my breath away, and for the reminders that our planet is full of magic, if only we take the time to see it. Each of these places has left a mark on my soul, a reminder of how small we are in the grand scheme of things, but also of how lucky we are to call this incredible planet home. From the roaring waterfalls of Iguazu to the stillness of the Northern Lights, from the towering peaks of the Himalayas to the serene waters of Harlong Bay, every one of these natural wonders is a testament to the power and beauty of nature. They remind us of the fragility of the world we live in and the importance of preserving it. As the sun sets on this journey, I carry with me the memories of these breathtaking places and the hope that we all continue to cherish and protect the natural wonders that make our world so extraordinary.